Hi, I'm Carol the coach. My name is Carol Juergensen Sheets, and I have made it my mission to help you to make better decisions in your life, as well as to feel better about yourself. And one of the best ways that you can do that is to really understand your feelings. Now, people have a tendency, especially women, to become overwhelmed by their feelings. And if that's you, if you feel like you typically get overwhelmed, then more than likely you also get immobilized by those feelings and you don't do what you need to do because you're afraid to do it. You know, we are either guided by love or fear. And I have to be honest, when it comes to being fear-based, we never make the right decisions. We always should gravitate towards love. But I'm going to give you a formula today that will really allow you to get centered with your feelings. And when you do that, you make better decisions, you feel better about yourself, and you start walking around with confidence and self-assuredness. I know it sounds simple, but it truly is an elementary principle that makes a difference in your life. And so in the previous video, where we talked about how to make decisions using your head, heart, and gut, I referenced the 5 feelings, and I thought, I probably need to explain these 5 feelings and how they work. So get ready, get a piece of paper and a pen, or if you're at the computer, make sure to open up a Word document and write this stuff down. Okay, there are 5 primary feelings, and they are like an umbrella, the spokes of an umbrella. They are anger, sadness, loneliness, fear, and happiness. All right, you may be doing what most of my clients have done and say, hey, why just give a good feeling one feeling? Why can't it be 2 or 3 good feelings and 2 or 3 bad feelings? Well, because everything does fall under happiness that's positive. And I think I need to explain a little bit more. Okay, you've written down the 5 feelings: anger, sadness, loneliness, fear, and happiness. Now, when I teach kids this version, I call it mad, sad, glad, afraid, lonely. What I find is adults tend to use that version too. So again, it's mad, sad, glad, afraid, and lonely. Regardless of which version you use, the kid version or the adult version, I'm going to teach you how this works. When you identify one primary feeling that is going on in your life, you're more likely to act a different way than you would if you're flooded with feelings. As I indicated, people can oftentimes become overwhelmed by their feelings and then they don't know how to react or act. So when you boil it down to the primary feeling, well, then you're able to determine and discern what you need to do next. Okay, so think of a situation that's bothering you and take a few moments, get grounded, and ask yourself, what is my primary feeling? And if you're telling yourself, well, I don't know, my boss is really difficult, he or she doesn't understand how hard it is for me to do the work of 3 people now that we've downsized, and I'm really feeling frustrated. Well, if you're feeling frustrated, guess what? That typically falls under the spoke of anger. And when you're angry about something, it's important for you to identify limits and boundaries, what you can and cannot do, or what you are willing to do. Anger, in actuality, is one of the most productive feelings that we have because it mobilizes people to do things differently. If you're angry at your husband or your wife, it's important to talk about it, communicate. But if you're feeling anger, sadness, and fear, you may not do anything at all. Or you may just cry. Or you may just leave. And that isn't necessarily what will move you forward to make a difference in your relationship. So identify a situation and then pick the primary feeling. and keep it honed down to those 5, because they are simple feelings that will then tell you what to do next. You know, if you're feeling a lot of fear, if you're a person who's prone to anxiety, worry, and nervousness, then what I need to tell you is you have the choice, and I mean that honestly and sincerely. You have the choice to say to yourself, what do I need to back up and shift this energy from fear, anxiety, and worry to one of eagerness or excitement or anticipation or knowing? You know, when I've messed up, when I have hurt somebody's feelings, when I'm afraid that my husband is mad at me, you know what I do? I take that fear and I feel it, and then I say, okay, now what can I do with confidence that I know is going to be a difference in our relationship? It may not mean we resolve it, but guess what? It means that I've taken the healthy step to deal with it. I just had that situation yesterday. He actually told me I had attacked him, and you know what? I had. I was mad at him for being judgmental. We all are, you know. Here I am judging him for being judgmental. And I had attacked him. Now, not bad, but certainly more than I was proud of doing. So when he said that, I felt worried and concerned. I felt concerned for his feelings. I felt concerned for why I had done that. And here's the next secret. When there is conflict in a healthy relationship, it breeds intimacy. So what I did was I made amends. I said, hey, you are absolutely right. I feel this anxiety and sadness because I know that I did attack you, and I am concerned about why I did that, and I just need to apologize profusely. Well, he put his arm around me, and he said, honey, this is nothing for you to be upset about. We've worked it out. I'm absolutely okay. Let it go. You see, when I got in touch with my anxiety and I dealt with it, it worked out well. Now, you may be going, oh, well, I don't have a husband or wife that is that emotionally healthy. Well, guess what? If you are the change you want to see and you relate to somebody in a healthy way, it will, I guarantee you, it will make a difference in your relationship. In a healthy relationship, that is. All right. Now, if you tend to feel sad, you know, sadness often turns into depression, as does anger turned inwards. And so you need to figure out a way to get all your sad feelings out so that you can then again shift the energy to something much more productive. If you're feeling happy, well, there's no problem with feeling happy. If you're feeling content, excited, pleasant, enthusiastic, all those feelings fall under happy, and most people have no trouble dealing with happiness. So we've talked about anger, and we've talked about fear, and we've talked about sadness, and we've talked about happiness. Now, if you're feeling lonely, perhaps that's one of the easiest things to deal with. Because if you're feeling lonely, you need to find safe ways of getting some support and networking with others. But you have to know that you really feel lonely first, and then create an action plan to make that happen. So those are the 5 primary feelings. If you want more information about them, you can either get them in one of my manuals. That's on my website, www.carolthecoach.com, or you can download an article I have on the 5 primary feelings. When you break your life down into easy, doable steps, it makes a huge difference in the way you relate to others and the way you feel about yourself. I'm Carol the Coach, and I will see you again for another one of my easy formulas for life. Now, as I say at the end of every radio show and every video, fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. Have a great week.